Hey, good evening, everybody. How are we doing? It's Friday night. I've not queued this up very well yet again, as I never ever do. And that means it's time for Warren's here. Good evening, Warren. That means it's time for a bit of book club on a Friday night. What a glorious end to a glorious week. Someone else has popped in and missed them. Fanny's here. Good evening. We're going to give people a few seconds to join as usual. For those who don't know me, my name's Ross. I'm an actor and voiceover artist from Manchester here in the UK. Good evening, Warren. And I scope 3 times a week on a Monday and a Wednesday. I said this at the start of every single scope. If anyone watches these all the time, you're going to be so bored of me saying this, but it's just for the benefit of the replay viewers. So yeah, scope Monday and Wednesday, something called Motivation and Mind Hacks, where we give away mind hacks, productivity hacks, motivational hacks, all sorts of things that are going to help you get further in your life faster. Good evening, Kim. Great to see you here. And then on a Friday, the pièce de résistance of the week, we do book club. Carl, good evening. Carl's joined as well. And this week we are looking at, we always choose an awesome book, basically on personal development, personal change, positive psychology, but science-backed, girly whirly. Good evening. None of this nonsense where you just wish for stuff and it happens. That doesn't happen. This is all stuff that you can implement into your life to help you get further, very much so, faster. If you're an actor, you're going to resonate with a lot of this stuff, but if you're not, you're going to resonate with it anyway. So don't tune out just if you're not an actor, right? A lot of people on the scope and myself, we're actors, but it all applies to you as well. How are we doing, Carl? Good evening. We're looking at Michael Port's Steal the Show. Madam Tosca's here again. Good evening, madam. Good evening, madam. Good evening, madam. It's very polite, isn't it? Anyone buy this, by the way? This is the 3rd week I think we've done on this, isn't it? Has anybody bought the book yet? The more I read of it, it's really great, guys. Honestly, it really, really is good. We're looking at risk taking tonight. We've had a bit of a theme recently on risk taking, haven't we? Done a few scopes on it. Helen Power, she's got the power. Is in the house. Good to see you, Helen. So yeah, let us know if anyone's bought it. It really is a top book, guys. So tonight we're looking at raising the stakes. The reason why I like it is Michael Port, for those who don't know anything about the author, Michael Port, he was an actor for years, had quite a lot of success in America. Then he went into public speaking, and then he basically realised that he could use all his acting training to train non-actors in public speaking by giving them performance skills that we all kind of take for granted that we've got as actors. So what I like about this book is it's not written for actors, it's written for people who aren't used to performing. But what it does is it then reminds you of all the skills that we generally have as actors that we don't really tap into necessarily in everyday life. We just kind of, we get them out of auditions and we just, I don't know, it's kind of the subconscious, I guess, that Michael brings forward to the conscious. So that's why I like this. And all the chapters are pretty short. They're like 6 pages, 7 pages. So if you're not a particularly in-depth kind of reader who likes to get engrossed and you just want to take it in bite-sized chunks, it's pretty cool. So we voted on Wednesday night scope to read tonight, Raise the Stakes. So it's all about risk taking. I did a scope on like a week ago, I think, on my favourite quotes about risk taking, because I had a bit of a dilemma last week whether to take a risk or not, which I've gone through with and took the risk today, spent the money on some stuff I needed to buy in order to get on with the new business venture. It's a bit of a risk. Go back and watch the scope on risk taking, but my favourite quote of all time on risk taking is, give me some hearts if you like this quote, because I love it. People who don't take risks make around 2 big mistakes a year. People who do take risks make about 2 big mistakes a year. So basically, you just got to take risks. It doesn't really matter. You're not really going to make that many massive mistakes the more risks you take. Most people make a couple of big mistakes a year and that's it. So just get out there and just start taking some risks. So let me know, how are you natural risk takers? Give me some kind of sort of ground on where you guys lie with taking risk in your career, in your personal life, in your relationships, in your physicality, everywhere. Maybe you don't do that extra heavy weight at the gym because you don't want to risk putting your back out, or maybe you don't risk asking that girl or guy out because you don't want to embarrass yourself. Maybe you don't risk putting yourself forward for an audition because you feel you're going to fail. Let us know where you kind of stand on that. I still get quite, shouldn't I? And then I generally push myself into it. I quit my job and sold my flat. Bloody hell, Warren. Warren quit his job and sold his flat to train as a professional actor. That's a bit of a risk, Warren. Fair play, I'll drink to that. Starbucks coffee, nothing else. I told you I went out on Tuesday night, got wasted. Not doing that again. First time I got drunk in 2 years. Carl risks, don't always think till afterwards. It's always alright. I mean, don't go out and take risks for the sake of it. You'll read that. You'll hear Michael tell you that tonight. But I think you really need to make more calculated risks in your life in order to to get those big payoffs in life. You can always play it safe, and you always do all right. But if you really want to get some big payoffs, you've got to start taking some risks. So I'm going to read you tonight, guys. Settle in. I'm going to read you this chapter on raising the stakes. Periscope's been a knob tonight, says Kim. Well, hopefully it won't be a knob for much longer, Kim. Very, very elegant way of putting it. It might be your internet connection, Kim. You're up in the back of beyond in Scotland. But keep trying, keep jumping on if you keep getting kicked off. So Michael starts his chapter, guys, on raising the stakes by saying, learning how to take the risks required of winning performances and to manage any anxieties or fears you have in the process calls for becoming comfortable with discomfort. So every risk you're going to take is naturally going to make you back off from it because it's going to feel uncomfortable. And we all know that you need to feel uncomfortable because it means that you're growing, you're getting out of your comfort zone, you're doing something that is going to enable you to get to that next level. Miranda, good evening, good to see you here. We've just started, Miranda, you've not missed very much. We're just starting this chapter of Michael Port's book on risk taking. So he says basically, you've got to get comfortable with discomfort. Kim also quit her job too, like Warren. I quit my job as well. A bit of a running theme here, isn't there? But it was the best thing I ever did. It really was the best thing I ever did for myself. So this means you first figure out what kind of risks to take and how they'll benefit you. Then you start getting comfortable with the discomfort that risk-taking brings, right? Sometimes that means breaking the rules. And no, Michael, doesn't mean you should break the rules that will get you fired or incarcerated and put in prison, right? But rather adopt the principle that to create memorable presentations and performances, sometimes you must find ways to surprise, to delight, to provoke, and push the boundaries of your audience to build and create new things, right? I had that going, even with Periscope. When I was going, well, this is kind of like breaking a bit of a boundary. This isn't I guess this is kind of a performance, isn't it, that I do. It feels so normal because this is the 81st Periscope we've done, guys, by the way. Congratulations for being with me for over the 80 mark. But when I first started doing this, the reason that I did 30 on the trot, I did 30, one every night for 30 days, was to kind of try and bring something new to, I guess, the performances in my life. They were all like TV or theatre performances. This is something very, very different. I'm like 2 minutes behind, says Kim, because she's in the back of beyond. Kim's on wind up like Wi-Fi. She has to like wind it up. Mary's here. Good evening, Mary. You're just joining us at the start, Mary, so it's good. So Michael goes, how taking risks pays off. Okay, he says, now please don't lose your perspective on this. Don't take risks for the heck of it, right? For a short-term gain, such as showing up a competitor or getting flash in the pan publicity. Something that you're going to go, well, I'm just going to get instant gratification out of this. It's going to be good, but it's kind of long-term pain. Risk levels and results must correlate. So your risk has got to correlate to the result that you're going to get. Let's say you're a small business owner negotiating for the first time with a large company that's offering a substantial contract, but their deal terms are particularly unfavourable for you. So as an actor, this might be a great opportunity to be in something, and you've got, we'll give you a great role in this, but it's going to require you to move down south if you're from the north, or move up north if you're from the south, and spend all your money that you've earned from that project on living there, and plus a bit extra. So actually you're going to get the job, but maybe it's unfavourable on your terms, so you're going to actually lose money by doing the job. Now there's a risk attached to that, and you go, well, if the credit is big enough, then maybe it correlates to the risk and it's worth doing. But sometimes it isn't worth doing, and there's power in not doing it, and I'll show you why. Michael goes on in this chapter to tell you. So it says, in many situations like this, the small business may take the contract as offered to bag the elephant, as they say, and get the hefty contract, even if the deal terms don't sustain profitability. So as an actor, you might go, well, I've got to take the job because I'm going to bag the elephant and I've got the job, but even though it's not going to be profitable to me at all. With your new mindset of a performer, you can raise the stakes by simply sitting without speaking or moving after you make your counter offer. So this is interesting body language we talked about before. If somebody gives you an offer and you want to make a counter offer, make the counter offer and then just sit there. Don't move and don't say anything. Don't smile or give anything away. It's uncomfortable, but it's powerful, okay? He says it can be really uncomfortable. If they reject it, you can simply get up, thank them for their time, and leave the room. It's simple. It's dramatic. And if it's risky, of course, and it's risky. You've got to be willing to walk away, but they may call you back in and tell you that they've had time to think about it and are happy to accept your offer, or you may not get the contract. But there are also considerable benefits to establishing a precedent for future business. I tell this to people all the time, ensuring your big contracts can be performed profitably, and perhaps best of all, by building your confidence. This is a performance, remember. You're stepping out of your role as the quiet, compliant, small vendor to act as if, and we did the as if principle a couple of book clubs ago. Get on actonthis.tv, click on Periscope, go back and look at the as if principle in the Periscope section. So yeah, you're acting as if you're on the same professional plane, as if you have the confidence to negotiate for what's fair and what a qualified vendor should have in this situation. Win or lose, you know you stayed true to your values and didn't sell out, but most times the outcome will be a better contract and a better prospect for success for the risk taker, and that's you. Okay, so I had this with a voiceover job once. A client got in touch with my agent, said we want to do this voiceover with Ross, and it's an international market, so the buyout on an international market is pretty significant. It's a fair few £1,000s. They went, oh, well, can we have a favour? We can't spend that much money this time. We want to, give, I think it was something like not even a third of what it should have been worth. And my agent phoned me and said, look, we're going to have to kind of walk away from this. And it was still a decent amount of money, and I really needed the money at the time. So, because if we say yes, then we'll kind of and undercut everything. They're going to think they can do this every single time in the future, and they're going to come back and you're ripping yourself off in the future effectively. So we took a risk by saying no, and then they came back, and I think they offered like 50% of the buyout. We were like, okay, that's fair enough, but we'll do it as a one-off. So we got double what they were initially offering because we walked away. Have you ever had that in your life where you've walked away from a proposition and then you've actually got a better deal in the outcome? Let me know if you have, or give us some hearts. Tap the screen if you've experienced that. Because sometimes you've got to take that risk of not landing it in order to get more, in the future. It's definitely, I've experienced it myself. So Michael goes on to say, discomfort often signals opportunity. That's another thing to get into your mind. When you're feeling uncomfortable, it often signals opportunity. And I always say, if you're confused, you're about to learn something. Right? It's really like, don't feel like being confused is a negative thing. You're about to learn something if you're confused. It's really good. So being uncomfortable, according to Michael, and I agree with it, it signals opportunity. Something is going to happen one way or the other, and an opportunity is going to arise. So Michael said before he started his own business, he was an executive at a publicly traded sports company. Okay, when he came on board, the company's financial systems for payroll and reporting were a disaster, particularly for assessing the value of fitness instructors, and most pressingly for getting the same instructors their paychecks. He says, I knew if I didn't make immediate changes, I wouldn't be able to keep top performers. So he wouldn't be able to keep those instructors on and evaluate payroll per instructor versus club revenues and profits. Surprisingly, after meeting with his boss, he found out that the leadership didn't want to make any investments or major overhauls. So Michael saw this problem in the business and went, wow, this isn't going anywhere. Went to his boss, said, I think we need to change this, and he went, well, we're not interested. We don't want to make any of these changes. So the choice was clear for Michael. He says, keep my head down and make very little impact and start looking for a new job, okay? Or raise the stakes so that he could make his life easier and the employees' lives easier and produce better results for the company to boot. The first option would be comfortable, not take any risks, stay comfortable. The second option would require living with the knowledge that my job could blow up quickly. So his job could go through the roof quickly if he took these risks. If he didn't take any risks, he stayed comfortable. All right, that's okay. Take some risks, his job could go through the roof and he could excel. So he shared his concern with his girlfriend at the time. He says, and she told me she knew a fellow in her tech department who was a whiz at financial modelling and who created software on a freelance basis. So I traded with him 2 executive club memberships for the gym for a piece of financial software that he developed per my specification. I showed it to the leadership team, and even though they weren't thrilled that I flew under the radar to get it done, they loved it and rolled it out company-wide. If they hadn't loved it, I might have looked bad and suffered a setback. That was the risk. but I also knew the goal was worth it. 3 months later, I received a promotion. Coincidental? Absolutely not. So he took a risk, got the payoff, okay? Remember, you're not taking risks just to take risks. When I negotiated my annual bonuses, says Warren, I would add more onto the figure than I wanted so they could knock it back. Yeah, exactly. That's a brilliant tactic as well. Absolutely. Well, that's what everyone does in life. And look at house prices. You never put your house on the market for actually what you want for it, do you? You always go, oh, let's just stick it over 10 grand more than we want, and people can play this silly game of back and forth. But it works. So he says, remember, you're not taking risks just to take risks, guys. Okay, there's a reason why you're performing to produce better results professionally and personally. And when you dare to get bigger results, this can be the most exhilarating and personally satisfying aspect of being a performer. So this might be a risk in an audition. I'm going to read you something in a minute about Marlon Brando's audition for The Godfather. I didn't know until I read this chapter earlier tonight. Brilliant though, bit of a risk, worked out brilliantly. By raising the stakes, you adjust to being comfortable with discomfort. As you rehearse for your conference speech, wedding toast, sales pitch, performance, or plan how you'll negotiate your deal, you experience discomfort and allow yourself to feel uncomfortable so you can find out what happens when you work through the idea. I remember this experience well from the writing and rehearsal process for my show, The Think Big Revolution. That's a show that Michael does, but it's not actually a show. He says, see what I did there? I referred to The Think Big Revolution as a show. I perform in it as a 55-minute keynote at conferences across industries and to different demographics. But I don't think of it as a speech or a talk. Instead, I think of it as a show. Doing so allows me to think like a performer rather than a speaker. It encourages me to show rather than tell. It compels me to take more risks and make bigger choices for the audience. There's a scene in the Think Big Revolution show, this is insane, when I talk about raising the stakes and being comfortable with discomfort. I tried on the idea of wearing a pair of red 6-inch high heels during the scene to demonstrate being uncomfortable with discomfort, because it made me both physically and emotionally uncomfortable. I knew the audience would never forget the point. Would the choice work, or would I look like an idiot? I didn't know, but instead of saying no to the idea, I took the time to rehearse it to see if it would work. If it did, I'd keep it in the show, even if it made me uncomfortable. After all, the job of a performer, interesting, the job of the performer is to serve the audience no matter how uncomfortable he or she is during the process. Sometimes I think as actors we can get a bit caught up in, oh, well, I can't really do that because it makes me uncomfortable. Okay, but it's your job to get uncomfortable for the benefit of the audience. After kicking the idea around for a few weeks of rehearsal, I took it out of the show because I found a better way to illustrate the concept. However, I would never have ultimately found a better way of doing the scene and nailing my point had I played it safe in the beginning. So Michael took he took the risk of wearing red high heels, figured out a better way actually, but although he felt emotionally uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable, he ran with it because it was his job as a performer to feel that discomfort so the audience didn't feel it. Okay, so if you're feeling uncomfortable, again, it's an opportunity, remember, and it's good. You're about to learn something. If you're confused, you're about to learn something. If you're uncomfortable, it's an opportunity. So it says raising the stakes for better performances. This is the last little bit. God, this chapter's fast. This is what I mean. There's like half a page to read. But this is interesting. Pushing the comfort zone is what great performers do well. Because time and again, they discover that by playing all out, guys, is in rehearsal, they find the smaller or more refined choice that brings the character to a new level. So you can go way overboard, can't you, in rehearsal? And you can try out loads of stuff, take loads of risks, so that you can refine it down for your actual performance. And that applies to everything in life, you know, any kind of thing. You can rehearse cooking a meal for somebody, take all the risks, add in ingredients you've never added before, see if the cake rises. If it doesn't, who cares, right? You can refine it so that when you're serving that cake up for someone in the future, you know it's going to work. So this is cool. This is what I wanted to read you. In Marlon Brando's famous audition, which I haven't seen, it's that famous, I haven't seen this. I need to Google it, YouTube it. In Marlon Brando's famous audition for The Godfather, he took the chance of stuffing his cheeks with cotton because he wanted Don Corleone to look like a bulldog. It worked so well that not only did Brando get the part, but Francis Ford Coppola recreated the look for the character with a plastic prosthesis. So the look worked so well that he made the prosthesis out of plastic. So he took this risk. Imagine walking into an audition going, alright, just give me a minute. Just going to shove me cheeks full of cotton because I want to look like a bulldog. But it worked. Another way of raising the stakes is making a promise to your audience. So making a promise to your audience is a good way of raising the stakes. The promise has to relate to something that matters to you and is reflected in your subject matter. And the promise is something you've worked through in your rehearsal process and are confident you can deliver. Okay, when President Kennedy said in an address to Congress, "I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth," he was making a promise and raising the stakes for his administration. If you're making an annual presentation about your department's objectives for the year and you start the speech with a declaration that by the same time next year you will increase net profit from 9 to 15%, you will have the attention of everyone in the room. Okay, you absolutely have to have a smart strategic plan to actually make this kind of promise though. But if you want to make a promise publicly or to people in your organisation or to your friends or to your family that you're going to have this nailed down by such and such a date, which is really kind of like the time-bound aspect of setting a SMART goal, which is a really, really good way to stay accountable, then it's a really great way of raising your stakes and holding yourself accountable because you've told people you're going to do that. So he finishes off by saying, let's be real, it's a scary world when you're performing instead of watching. Okay, and this is what gets me all the time. Anyone who wants to slag you off, right, in anything that you do as a performer, if they're a non-performer or whatever, okay, just, you don't have to tell them, but just rest in the knowledge, right, that you are throwing your hat into the arena, okay, because they're not. At least you're up and your hat's in the arena, okay. They can sit on the sidelines and slag you off and slate you as much as you want, as much as they want, for taking risks, but they're not the people doing, they're the people watching, all right. So he says, it's scary when you're performing instead of watching. If there weren't risks in performing in high-stakes situations, the rewards would be far fewer. It may feel like you're balancing on a high wire, with people torn between wanting to see you fall and wanting to see you cross safely to the other side. But that's all in your mind, okay? Most people, and I really agree with this, most people, especially an audience, don't want you to fail. Okay, they want you to take risks so that it feels to them like you're balancing on a high wire, but all the while they're rooting for you to make it to the other side successfully. If you've ever seen someone on a high wire, trust me, there's a part of you that's like almost engrossed by going, oh God, go on, fall, see what it's like. Not if there's a net, obviously I don't want to fall to their death. But then there's another part you go, no, don't, go on, you can do it, and you really, really get behind them. And that's what the audience is like every time they're watching you, or a casting director, or an agent, or a director, or a writer, or anyone who's watching you in a casting. They don't want you to fall. They're rooting for you to get to the other side. If you can do it with some flair and a bit of panache, they'll stand up and cheer for a job well done. When you complete the high wire, high risk act with grace, you've won the room and the crowd. So I'll say that again. When you complete the high wire, high risk act with grace, you've won the room and the crowd. So, and that's the end of the chapter. As I said, they're really, really short and concise, but ultimately that's it. You don't take risks for the sake of taking risks, but you have to take risks if you're going to have any big payoff. If there wasn't a risk attached to performance, the payoff, as Michael says, would be few and far less than it is. But choose your risk wisely to take it. Finish it with a bit of grace and panache. The audience are going to be rooting behind you anyway, and you will have won them over. You'll win the room, you'll win the audience. But you can't win them unless you take that risk in the first place. So it's just another, it's similar material to what we covered, in a scope last week. But ultimately, it just reminds me, and hopefully reminds you guys, of the importance of risk taking. And if you've had a week where you're like, oh, I don't feel I've really got anywhere this week, or could have made more of the week, not been as productive as I could have been, just think, well, how can I go all out next week on the high wire? How can I take a couple more risks that are calculated, not just for the sake of taking risks, that are going to have big payoffs, you know. And if you do fail, then you know, and you can take you can go, okay, well, I'm going to take a different risk. I'm going to attach my high wire to 2 different buildings and walk across to a different building, and and see if I get there. But let me know if it resonates with you, and and if you feel kind of like motivated to take more risks, or whether you feel you're taking enough risks, or what risks you might have taken this week. I took that financial risk today by buying that camera equipment I was talking about, which was the thing that got me talking about risks in the first place. Pleasure, Madam Tosca. Always a pleasure to read a book on a Friday night with a coffee. But yeah, let us know what risks you could take this coming weekend or next week. Who you're going to reach out to. Is there something you've been putting off because you've been a little bit scared of falling from the high wire, and you're like, right, I'm gonna do it now, or are you already on it? Are you already in the middle of the buildings taking it? Nice to see you in blue, right? Yeah, no. I've got about 15 black t-shirts, and just like a couple of other coloured ones. But yeah, I'll start colouring it up. Now it's getting into summer. I'll start putting on loads of crazy colours. I'll go and get a whole summer wardrobe for you on these Periscopes, so I can start brightening up your evenings for you. And the clocks go forward in a couple of weeks as well. Don't forget. I'll let you know about that as well. Remind you, because we're going to get loads more daylight. I'm not seeing any risks here, guys. Are you all taking enough risks already? Let me know what risk you have taken. Whether it's on Tinder, swiping right on a few people, or whether it's in real life. In your career, with your friends, with your family, with a business venture, anything. No such thing as failure, only learning, says Kim. Absolutely. What risks have you taken this week, Kim? Or what risks are you going to take next week? Now you might feel pumped up, ready to take a few more risks. I really want people to start, particularly if you're in the creative industry and you're a performer who's frustrated because you're having to work a job you don't want to work in order to support your acting career, which I did for 10 years until I started creating online businesses that I love being a part of and doing. I really want to see people creating their own online businesses so they can work for themselves, create that revenue so that they can focus more on their acting career. And I want to know if you would like me to do stuff on that. I'm doing an album this year. Have to commit to the track list this week. Amazing, Helen Power. Awesome. I might risk the shower challenge. How has that gone? Guys, so on Monday night I set a 2-week cold shower challenge for people, where we would basically take a cold shower after a warm shower in the morning, have your normal shower, then take a cold shower for 2 minutes. I've nailed it for 5 days now, and honestly, this sounds proper girly, right? But on Monday I had a breakout of spots here. They've well cleared up, and I feel like proper more energetic in the morning when I get out of the shower. I need to get a tie-dye. You're about 2 minutes behind, Kim, on this. She's talking about t-shirts still. She's in Scotland. Internet connections up there aren't what they should be. But yeah, let us know how your cold shower challenge has gone, and if you've been doing it. It's working for me, definitely. Let us know in the Facebook group as well. Come and join the Facebook group, people. Facebook.com if you're an actor, /groups/ActOnThisTV. Come and be a part of that as well. The Facebook group is rocking at the moment, which I'm really pleased about. So yeah, do the cold shower challenge. If you've not seen that Periscope, again, go to actonthis.tv, click on Periscope, and you can watch the replay. Every single replay from the past 80 odd Periscopes is up there now. I'm going to a part-time drama school class thing on Saturday, so taking my learning up a gear. Boom! So there you go. So that's a risk. Most people would go, oh, performing in front of new people, I'm scared about it, it's a risk. What if they don't like me? What if I muck up or something like that? Great though, Kim. Good risk to take, definitely, and it's the only way you're going to get a good payoff. Keep taking those risks. No one else is coming forward with any risk taking. It is Friday night though. I appreciate that, and maybe people are just like, right, they've already gone. They took a risk by going to the pub on a Friday night after Periscope. They've gone, right, I'm out of here, I'm doing this. So I'm going to be back on Monday, guys. Going to be some motivation and mind hacks. I don't know what we're going to be talking about. I have absolutely no idea yet. If you've got any suggestions, tweet me at Ross A. Grant, or tweet ActOnThisTV, or tweet at Bulletproof Act. I'm going to start consolidating some of these accounts, it's too many. I've been doing the 2-week challenge. It definitely gets me motivated. So Kim's doing the 2-week shower challenge as well. People have been posting selfies in the shower on the Facebook group, screaming, which is crazy. If people come in the group for the first time and just see all those, they're going to be going, what sort of group is this? Just naked women in the shower. Crazy. I'm not slow, you're too fast, says Kim. Something going on with the Periscope connection, obviously, Kim. There's a bit of lag here. But yeah, so I'm going to be back on Monday, guys. But let me know as well. Like I said, I want to start maybe coaching people into creating some online kind of businesses, or at least an online blog to get them going. A lot of people get scared by the technology, don't know how to do it. It's very, very simple to set up a self-hosted blog, not one where you're tied into someone else's framework or you've got to pay for it. To set up one where you would have to pay minimum outgoing just to, for your own server and your own domain name, but how to set it up so you completely control it. If you would be interested in learning about that, then let me know and I'll do some webinars on it or something like that. I just want to see people becoming their own bosses, because otherwise it's very, very difficult to pursue anything creatively when you're tied down into other stuff. So let us know if you want to do that. Come join the Facebook group, like I say, facebook.com/groups/ActOnThisTV. Go out, take more risks. Remember, those people who don't take risks make about 2 big mistakes a year. Those people who do take risks make about 2 big mistakes a year. So don't worry about it. Just go out there and take some risks. I have a great idea for a business. I need to get up and running within a few months. Excellent, Warren. Well, put something in the Facebook group about it, and I'll definitely do some online courses or something on creating your first kind of self-hosted blog online and how you can monetize that, and some other kind of businessy stuff. I've been doing it about 7 years now, so I've accumulated quite a bit of knowledge that I'm more than happy to share with people. Have a fantastic weekend, folks. I'll be back on Monday, 10 p.m. Be there or be somewhere just not nearly as beneficial for you. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch up with you then. Thanks so much for watching. If you watched on the replay, appreciate you. Thanks for getting this far. Make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Periscope @RossAGran, and join live next time. You're missing out. You can comment and get involved with the community. Have a great one, guys. Bye for now.